Yep. Okay. Can you hear us, Rick?
Oh, we're muted.
We're muted.
Oh,
or
we
he's
are. I
muted?
just, oh, that's, yeah.
It says
Well,
phone.
no, it says iPhone's muted.
He's muted.
He's muted. iPhone's muted. We're not an iPhone. All the, there we go. Everything's coming up now. Rick, can you hear us now?
Here, look at that.
We're good. We lost Rick. Oh, no, he's down
He's
below.
there in the
He's
corner.
down below. Why does it do that?
I don't
You
know.
gotta mute yourself, Rick. Texting. You're texting.
Tracy went, no, answer this text till next Monday. Oh, did I say that out loud?
He can still hear you.
I know he can. I know he can.
Well, I guess that's
He's like my brother.
kind of right. Yeah,
My sister's that
I
way.
didn't think the ones I had were that old. I don't think they're worn out. I don't think so. It'd land on top here, I just wondered. It's getting close to the end of the fiscal year, make sure he spends all the money in his budget, right? Yeah. Okay. Call these in order, all right? If I'm wrong. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everybody.
morning.
Morning.
Call the meeting to order. Anything to go on the agenda?
No,
Nope.
the truth and taxation, I think I'll wait till next week.
Okay,
I'll just move the day around.
really? Okay.
Yeah.
Are we gonna set the date or just push it all?
It's just the date we'll have to do next week, cause
Okay.
it has to fit between the 10 and 20, and it would have been 21.
Oh,
Lord,
oh,
So we're just,
so should we with that
just omit that.
omit the public hearing tax, truth and taxation, date setting until next week?
Yeah.
With that, I'll make a motion to accept the agendas printed now.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Minutes. After reading through them, they look, correct. Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Approve the claims.
Okay, I show drainage at $10,671.98 and general at $284,425.45. So 10,671.98 and then 284,425.45.
That's what I had. I'd make one of the generals is the snow equipment for the new truck that we're waiting on.
Yep.
Finally showed up, and that's like 120 some thousand of that 280, so hopefully we don't use it.
Sure. Okay.
Okay, any other discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. General public concerns, anybody here for general public? Oh. Yes,
There's
no. Cole. I asked, they gave this presentation of the bridge down there going across the river to the conservation, and I asked them if they'd come over here and keep us in the loop also. So, Cole's here and your engineers
Yep,
to
so
talk
I've got-
about the,
Joey Whitehouse with ISG and Nick Frederiksen with ISG and Clayton Worland with our Parks Department. So thanks for having us. We're glad we can come, talk about this a little bit. This project has been going on, for quite a long time. The original grant application, I think, was submitted in 2017 or 2018. We had multiple other applications after that, and finally, we're at the point where we're ready to build. But right now, we're being held up by FEMA, so we'll get into that a little bit more, but wanted to give you guys a good refresher before the project starts and kind of explain everything, so. I've got the pretty drawings too, which are kind of cool. But other than that, I'll turn it over to Nick and Joey for the detailed overview of the plans quick, and then happy to answer any questions after that.
I don't know how detailed that would be. But
More than I was gonna
We'll
do.
go through a few things here, so, good to be back here, Nick Carter's been a little while since I've been in front of the board here, but excited to kind of, share a little bit of history of how this was started, and then we'll walk into kind of what the current design, constraints and design projections are. So like Cole said, 17 or 18, I think it was
I think it's
17.
17, yeah.
There was an application, that was submitted to, through the RPA for, grant funding for a pedestrian bridge across the river. That was accepted, at that time. The following year, we submitted for a soft loop trail down in the lower area, which is the yellow line on that, graphic that you're there. And that one was also accepted through Midas at the RPA. So we were able to win both of those. We're just short of $1 million in grant funding, on this overall project. And we were put on the 5-year plan. It did get kicked a year. We had to go in and due to some design constraints, change the classification of the trail that connects up to Eagle Ridge. So we were able to push there, but kept all of our funding on the project. So as we started this process here, the bridge was originally slated to kind of, I believe it is third on the north side of the park shed. There, it was gonna go across the river at that location. That ended up being not feasible, due to everything on the other side of the river is in the floodway. So we couldn't put any fill there for the bridge. So we ended up moving it south of the park shed. In moving it south of the park shed, just north of the fish ponds, we're able to run the bridge there's a hill that really goes up towards Eagle Ridge right there. We're able to run right into the side of the hill and then build a trail up to Eagle Ridge from there. So that was one of the first major design changes was location of the bridge. The second major one was when we originally applied for this, we were hoping for a single span bridge. So we wanted abutments on both sides and just a single span across the river here. So it would have been a 270-foot long single span pre-engineered pedestrian bridge, which would have been the longest one in the state. We're really excited. Well, COVID hit. We've all seen what some pricing has done on that. The cost to manufacture the bridge actually overtook the total original projected cost of the entire project, just to manufacture the bridge through that time frame. So kind of a gut punch there, went back to council. We looked at several alternates in that. It was significantly more cost feasible in an alternative analysis to use 235-foot sections and put a pier in the middle of the river. So while we didn't want to, it just was not, it was cost prohibitive to put the single span in. So we kind of through the audible, went through some design, which now we're getting into a pier in the river, no rise, and a lot of different permitting things that Joey will jump into here in a second. So that is all the way on the bridge part of it. The loop trail, if anybody's ever been over there, there's kind of a cattle path, you could call it, or a walking path down at the bottom. It generally follows that path for the most part in the trees. There is a little bit of an area on the west side where we did have to adjust because that path goes through private property. But otherwise, pretty much following that, and that is just going to be a soft, it'll be just a 1/4 inch or 3-inch chip trail in there for walking on that side of the river. So that's a little bit of the history there over several years. We've been in design for about 2 years now, actually, with the design of the trail changes and the bridge and so forth. And as part of the bridge and the design, I'll throw it over to Joey here. He's done the engineering project.
Yes, good to meet you guys. Yeah, that's a good summary of kind of the bridge aspect of the project. And then there's kind of 3 parts as we treated it, that soft trail as well. And then there's an asphalt trail snaking down that hill there. That's obviously out the gate, something that requires serious consideration as it's about a 60-foot drop on that bluff from the top of the hill, kind of down to the lowland, the wetland, the river area. So we kind of worked with the DOT on that. We actually went in and changed our trail classification to make sure we could still make that trail as accessible to everyone as possible, but it's impossible to meet guidelines that require you to be really flat under 5% and whatnot. So our trail runs at about 8%. We have flat landing areas and we widen the trail in some areas just to make sure it's safe for anybody that wants to access it and still remains as functional as can be. We've had a geotechnical engineer involved as well since the beginning. They had multiple aspects to look at on the project. They looked at the abutment locations, they looked at the pier locations, and we also ran some ideas by them for this trail as well. Being that steep of a hill, steeper than the trail that you're putting in, you kind of have to get creative. So we kind of are digging this trail into the side of the hill a little bit. And then what that requires is it requires fill on the downhill side of this trail to help support that. So we looked at different mechanisms to make sure we could keep this project functional, safe, and as cheap as possible. That includes looking at kind of that global stability, that failure plane of that hill when you're putting all this fill in there. We looked at possibly putting rock walls and trenches on the bottom to help support that hill. But in the end, we decided on just a 2.5 to 1 slope going back on that hill to make sure that that hill could still get that same regrowth in the long term that it has there now, but also will support that trail safely and effectively. Then going back to the bridge a little bit, I guess, we went through a whole hydraulic modeling process. This is what's required to kind of make sure that this is going to get permitted and approved through all the avenues you have to go down. So we designed this bridge with that model in mind. The ultimate goal is typically to prove a no rise to the river when the river is at its 100-year or above flood levels. You want to prove that this bridge is not going to affect that. Ultimately, we got it down to, there's a fractional percentage of an inch that this is going to affect. So it's minuscule, and there's plenty of models that the DNR and FEMA would have that it's just impossible to get it to actually work. As we've discussed, the 100-year level is pretty high on this river, and I don't think anybody has ever seen it up until that point.
Yeah, so the 100-year level is actually the bank on the east side, about 5 feet higher than that. So it would be completely engulfing the park shed, the fish ponds, everything at the true 100-year model level. So while the bridge has to be above that, and we're about 5 feet up from that east side there, we weren't able to get a no rise, and that's something that Joey's still working through.
Yep, so we just showed that in our model. What that leads to is in order to get that permitted, we run that through FEMA. We're using a conditional letter of map revision to basically say, hey, we've surveyed all these areas that are in this variable area that is hypothetically changing. There's no concern with it. All of the landowners and residents agree that this is fine. That's the avenue we're going down. So right now FEMA is reviewing our model to approve that. Beyond that, we have all of the permits in hand, so we're just waiting on that turnaround. Beside from that, other permitting aspects, there is a wetland down in that lowland on the west side, so the city will be looking at purchasing some credits just to replace that. It's a pretty arduous process to replace a wetland in kind and have them monitor it and all that, when it makes sense to go out and just purchase some of those credits in another wetland. So that's kind of the same with that stream that's found its way down there as well. Other than that, like I said, FEMA's still reviewing that application there. What we expect is to receive that in the next month or two at the worst. That means we're going through that DOT bid process, so they'll set us up for a bid in a few months. It'll be a public bid through the DOT in June or July, I imagine. That being said, there's also, when you look at this project as a whole, you kind of look at what dates are you allowed to clear trees. That's something that's pretty restrictive. So we've decided once at the city here just to go ahead and not clear any trees early this spring and wait till the fall to take care of that. So after October 1st is likely we will already have the project queued up and have a contractor for it. They would go in and knock those trees down at the time and then go from there. So it's possible that a good chunk of that work gets knocked out in the fall. Otherwise, in the early spring, I imagine they'll get after it, depending on how the contractor wants to piece that together. But ultimately, our goal that we kept in mind with the city throughout this process, and their ultimate goal is just to make sure that this area gets used to its full potential. We wanted to maintain all the accesses. We know people do plenty of different activities down there. They're fishing, they're biking, you know, running, hiking, whatever you want to do in that area. We want to make sure that we maintain that and improve the accessibility, make sure that people can still use it in the ways they were using it, and actually attract more people to that area as well. So I think the city's done a good job of keeping that in mind the whole time, for these design changes as well. That's pretty much it. Our cost estimate for this project is around 2.5 million. So like Nick said, we lowered that bridge cost as best as we could to be effective, you know, with a 2-span bridge. But that's kind of the ballpark we're looking at and the timeline we're looking at as well.
Yeah, a bulk of it is the bridge itself, the fabrication, the pier, the abutments, but there's also a significant amount of import material for the side of the hill that has to get hauled in, over on the side as well and compacted in place, so that is also a driver of cost. With it, the east side of there, you know, we're bringing the bridge up about 5 feet, and it's gonna be sitting right where the trail is now, so there's gonna kind of be, we call it a trident, looks like a little trident, pitchfork, you know, coming in, so that way you can loop around the bridge. All of that is within ADA requirements to get onto the bridge. It isn't until the other side of the bridge where it actually turns into a recreational trail, which is where we're allowed to run for a little bit longer at 8% versus the shorter stretches at 5% for a true 80, you know, accessible route. But unless you want to add another 1,000+ feet of trail somewhere, there's no way to get up that, you know, that rise of that hill. So, otherwise, a couple other unique things, bedrock underneath the middle of that river, there's about 5 feet down. So they are doing a drilled pier in there, so it'll be a single pier on the abutment in the middle with it. So drilled shaft, which is pretty not what we hoped for, but that's what we had to end up with for design purposes with it. And then I think we're also just kind of working through some, potentially some way to light the bridge with the city on what that may or may not look like here. Trying to keep lighting a bridge can get super expensive, super fast, but keeping that reasonable in mind to see if there's other grants that we can do to set that bridge up for potential lighting as well. So, locations, you know, just, you know, downstream from the parks, it's adjacent to the city's kind of long-term master planning to improve the area on the Lanier property and the fish ponds, you know, along Cottonwood Trail there. So all in all, we're pretty excited to see this project finally come to fruition here, just waiting on one FEMA permit, and then we should be able to move forward. So.
Nick alluded to this, but this project was originally fully funded, right? So original project cost was about 1.2 million. We had just under 1 with grant funding, and county conservation contributed 100, we set aside 100. So it was pretty much paid for, and then COVID happened and it literally doubled on us. So we were able to make up that difference with a general obligation bond that we're just wrapping up now, but timing wise, it worked out really well. We had quite a bit of debt service coming off this year, so our levy for debt service is actually going down. So I think that's important to remember too, is there's really no tax impact on this at all. It's going down instead of going up. So timing wise, it worked out well, and that's one of the main reasons council decided to keep moving forward, is there would be no tax impact on the public for that. But another quick comment is the renderings that you have are pretty accurate to what the bridge will actually look like. So I think it looks pretty cool, and I think the city and the county have really invested in quality of life stuff for the community. That's huge for rural communities. You know, we do a lot of infrastructure projects that we have to do, but when it comes to attracting and retaining people, the quality of life stuff is huge. So again, as Nick alluded to, this is kind of the centerpiece for our vision, you know, as the city on outdoor recreation. We've got downtown close by, and now that will be connected to the Eagle Ridge neighborhood. And hopefully with your partnership, we can continue moving west toward the Sheldon campground and really make it a great place to live. So we have a lot of plans for this area, and this is one of the big ones, and we're hoping to continue building off that momentum. But really excited for this project.
Well, it looks very nice. Did I catch from the time frame? The actual construction of this would be next year.
There may be some, like dropping of trees or.
Well, I got
trees
that,
this
but I'm
one.
saying that,
They could start I mean, if we can bid this summer, they could start on the piers this winter and the abutments and work through that. But I think a bulk of the import of material for the trail, that'll be in the spring.
So realistically speaking, this whole project, this is 24, be completed in 25.
That would be
Yeah.
my guess.
Yeah.
Where you're looking at.
Guaranteed it'll be 25 completion date,
Yeah.
yes.
With maybe something this year to begin the start of it.
Correct.
Well, it looks very nice. I think it's full summed it up, so I'm not gonna reiterate, but I just agree with him. It was, well, people are looking for it. They like these trails and the connectivity that it's getting. Staying off roads for your walking and biking and.
Yeah, for context wise, this was originally, meant to be a safe school, a safe route school for trail
Mhm.
classification. We weren't able, without exponentially compounding the cost, able to make that work. So that's why we're sitting at a recreational trail now. It's still passable. We did put several, like Joey said, several rest areas, flattened areas throughout this. Followed by that, little steeper decline. As it curves down the hill, we've widened the trail for safety. In that area, we got a safety bench on the outside of that before a 2-to-1 slope down the hill.
And you are working on going on down to the Lower Sheldon campground, connecting down there so they can.
Gonna
from the
be-
Park down.
Partnership with you guys in conservation mainly. I think conservation owns a good chunk of the land and there's some private property in there too. So I don't know what the status is with that, but, yeah, we'd love to get out that way and connect everything to downtown.
That would be a future project past this.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of just been a goal of Todd's and I's, I guess, just working together with, when we got this property originally back in, 12, I think it was. That was kind of, we sat down and kind of went, well, this would be kind of neat if we could get all the way out there, then you get people camping at Sheldon that are able to ride their bikes into town.
Yep.
And,
Very nice, all on a trail.
Right.
That's excellent. I think that's a great update.
Yep. That is you.
Like everything else, nothing we could control. It's too bad it wasn't built for half the cost or the original cost.
Have my conversations with you about that area.
Yeah, well, that stinks. And we're tasked with something else that Ben's been working on. That would be a storage building, same story. It's just ridiculous. But. I
So
mean,
what
I'm
is the
glad we
height on
make it
that
work.
over the river?
If you look on the larger packet, it'll give you an idea on that, the very last page. Bruce, on there, so the river elevation is. $45, it doesn't need 55. We're up this. We're 20+ feet above the river in there. I don't know the actual, the current water level. But shown on the situation plan here, just kind of looking at it, the bridge decking is 1080-ish, and the river is down at the,
Looks like you're piling it there at
60.
10:45.
yep. Yeah, that's the bottom of the riprap within on the drill pier there, yep.
And really, the bridge gets kind of centered around the floodway and not necessarily the river at that location. So as you can kind of tell, the pier there is a little bit closer to the east side of the river, which ultimately maybe is a good thing for keeping that kayak route open, It's gonna be fine regardless of where that pier is, but that's kind of how it plays out.
You do got some height though on it. So right now, there you can see the regulatory low beam. That's a foot above the Q100 level, which is 1075.17. So that's if the 100-year storm comes through. That's what the modeling tells us it'll be. Never seen it, never witnessed it, but that's where we're at there. It's about 5 feet over the ground on the east side of the river. Good question, man.
Any other questions? Thank you very much for the detailed update and good luck. I hope it goes well, maybe even yet this year. It's wrapped up now.
4 or 5 months, so hopefully we got some good report that time. So, but no, otherwise, thank you all for the time. Take the opportunity to give you a quick little update here, and if any other questions, come up, feel free to give Cole a call. I can give either us a call. We're happy to answer, happy to, if you can't answer it, find it out, figure it out for you.
And thank you for the partnership, right? This is partially a county project too with your property there, so appreciate that and all the work we do together.
Awesome.
Thank you, fellas. We
Thank you.
appreciate the update. Keep us
Clayton's looking forward to cutting trees when they give him the go ahead, I can tell.
Well, the contractor will hopefully.
Hopefully, the
drop them.
contractor.
So we're planning for the contractor to drop them all and
Okay.
remove them. We just have to, there's a bat mating season here starting in the spring. We can't drop any trees through that time frame. So we will, we'll let the long-eared bat nest if there happen to be there. We didn't do any surveys. We'll just wait until the window where it allows us to go in and drop them.
Bats are holding us up.
So, yeah, but,
Probably your updated firm maps that they did for the DNRs with some training, you know?
they're not any better than, or worse than the old one,
Yeah.
in all honesty.
Really?
Yeah, and actually, I think it made it worse in some spots for us on this one.
Yeah,
Really
it
updated.
made it much more accurate, but it really tied us to the only location you could cross the floodway was down south of Third instead of at Third. As you know, that western area is all lowland, so technically that is now in the floodway. As the map got more accurate, how it should be, but it didn't really help by any means.
Yep. Joyce.
Thank you, fellas.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, we didn't adopt them on the county side.
Yes,
Haven't figured out how to map.
up here, yeah,
Drainage districts.
Yeah.
Very well.
yeah. For bid purposes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, awesome, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dan, you're up. Morning.
Computer here. Break it.
I know.
Got the one main item on the agenda, to approve basically a new way that we handle dust control moving forward with the county. This is similar to how Webster County and I believe Wright County has been doing it, where they send a memo out to dust control providers. And then they reach out to the customers, they reach out to our county residents that are interested in doing dust control.
Mhm.
And it kind of takes the county out of it, other than we still blade the road prior to them coming in and putting dust control down. But we would send out, basically the way it is right now, we've got two vendors that quote us, Pro Co-op and Wessels. By doing it this way, we should be able to open it up, get Dino's back in here. There's a snow and mow company, Kist. Kist out of Fort Dodge is one of them. Jericho's been here and done some work. They do the quarry. They do everything from Martin Marietta, but they haven't done anything on the residential side. So this would open up the possibility of them coming in. With this, there is a little bit that the landowner has to do. Basically, they've got to put in and maintain flags at the right of way where their dust control starts and stops, so that our blade operators, when they're out there, can see the markings by the flag locations, because we have been allowing more than just the lignin for dust control. So the lignin is the dark tree sap that you usually see. It's getting harder and harder to get. It's getting more expensive. Last year, Wessels did a first application with lignin, and then they came back and they used some sort of a hybrid proprietary mix. It was a blend of different dust control sources. As far as I know, Wessels is the only ones that have been quoting us lignin. Otherwise, everybody else has been doing like a chloride, a magnesium chloride, or a calcium chloride. We've allowed all of them. The biggest thing for our operators is being able to tell where it starts and where it stops. So that's where we included the language in there that said that they're supposed to maintain their flags. So,
Right, and that makes sense.
Well, you know how that's gonna go.
It's their own
it'll
fault if they
it'll
don't.
maintain it for a while.
Yeah.
So does this put this in the hands of the individuals that want this? Are they gonna have to contract directly with the vendor?
Yes,
And there's a permit thing you put
So there's-
together someplace
there's a
along there?
permit that they fill out.
Or just kind of a work in the right of way from that type thing?
Yes. Page 3, yeah. So we've allowed the calcium chloride, the lignin sulfonate, and the magnesium chloride in the past, so we would still allow those. Basically, what it's doing is it's opening this up to more vendors to be able to quote us service, and it generates a little bit of revenue for the county because it's $100 permit fee.
Okay.
So if Wessels or whoever decides that they wanna come in and put dust control down, it's $100 permit fee. If Ron Oberhelman up in the northeast part of the county wants to come in and put in his own dust control, I think it's a $25 permit fee.
Yeah, so this is here. So is that for, not each
So that's just-
application, but just?
So that's just for individuals that wanna do their own. Right now, we've got 4 or 5 people, I believe, that apply for a permit to work in the right of way to do their own dust control. So we wanted to make sure that they could still do their own.
Mhm.
Um,
So the vendor's paying the $100 permit fee.
Yes,
So will this need to be filled out in your possession before they're allowed to do this then?
so they'll fill out the permit and I believe give it back to
The vendor,
the vendor.
and then the vendor lets you know that they're gonna be there so we can get the roads groomed
Yes,
before. Cause that's always,
that's always the big issue. There is some date constraints
April 4th.
on the permit, that says basically when they have to be on the list. And then we've got I think it's the first week in May is what we're allowed to blade the road and get it into shape, and then they can come in and do dust control, so. This has kind of been a pet project of my office managers, so. Getting caught up to speed towards the end of last week.
So do you advertise? Cause it says here they have to be signed up no later than April 4th.
So we'll advertise, yes, we'll put it on we'll put it in the paper. I don't know about the radio yet, and we'll end up putting it on the Facebook page.
Okay.
I'll have Matt do a live and in person with Kim.
there you
Oh,
go.
there you go.
So how are the individual landowners that want dust control gonna coordinate which vendor they get?
They'll still end up getting contacted. Most of these people, they're gonna contact the 1 or 2 vendors that they've had in the past. Dino's has always come in and done like 2 to 3 people, but by us switching to this, we'll end up giving a list of everybody that had dust control last year to all of these vendors, and they'll end up contacting them.
So each vendor will contact.
Right, so if you had dust control, if you had dust control done last year, chances are you'll get 4 or 5 letters in the mail from every.
With pricing.
From the dust
And then,
control.
yeah,
And
And then
they'll give you their pricing,
yep, and then they can make a evaluation of who they wanna use then.
yes,
So is this supposedly make it simpler on the county side?
it should make things simpler.
Okay, well, I hope it works for all you. Or for Kim.
We'll have some growing pains, I'm sure, this first
Yeah.
year, but
What's about the percentage of people that use dust control? 75%?
it's tough, I'm not sure.
I don't-
I'm the number of acreages that are still active in the county.
Seems like most people do.
Yeah, I'd say
Not
there's,
Well, the last
I
couple of
mean,
years when it's been so dry,
Yeah.
a lot of them.
It gives
done
them an
it because it
incentive.
just Can't hardly breathe when if there's, if we don't have wind, which
What?
very seldom we don't have
Yeah,
wind, but
Right.
It never blows here, does it?
My gosh.
so if it says this possible action, we need to adopt this?
So
procedure?
we'd need to adopt this procedure.
And I guess, knowing that it's new to us, we would adopt it, and if we have to tweak it,
We'll tweak it
we'll
next
tweak
year.
it to make it work next year if we come up across something that isn't.
Something that we didn't like or something that we
Right.
wanna change, we'll tweak it next year.
Unforeseen. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that being said, I'll make the motion to accept the new Humboldt County Desk Control Policy.
We have a second, I will second that, sounds good to me. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Another item that I need to do with you is to set a date and time for my 5-year program and my Iowa DOT budget.
Didn't we just do that last year?
I know, right? Oh, how time flies.
Yeah.
Seems,
You're proposing April 8th?
I will be gone on April 1st. So we have the option of either the 25th or the 8th to do it. I just have to have it submitted to the DOT by the 15th.
Well, we have, on the 25th, we have that branch bid letting for,
I think the 8th would be fine,
April 8th.
yeah.
and this is gonna be what exactly then?
Basically where I bring in my formal Iowa DOT budget and 5-year program
Numbers,
for.
Which
for
we've already
approval.
seen, have we?
You guys have already seen the numbers.
Yeah.
The numbers that I'm submitting to the DOT are the same ones that I've submitted to you for the budget. 5-year program, the only thing that you guys haven't seen will be whatever projects I add on year 5. So,
and it can all be switched
and
around.
everything can be changed around if something
If
happens.
something happens and we gotta fix a bridge
Is
or
this-
fix something, so.
Yep.
Considered a hearing,
It will end up being a hearing, yep.
so that's why you have to,
That's why I have to set the date up because I'll have to put it in the paper and advertise it.
right, cause you,
No less than 3, no more than 20, so I'll probably get it in next week's paper.
So we're gonna do this like at 8:45?
sounds like a
Sure.
good time. How about we make that motion of the, DOT budget and 5-year program hearing set for Monday, April 8th at 8:45 AM.
I second, if that's all right with Trish.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
One other thing I wanted to discuss was purchasing an additional roller. So with these road regrading projects that we've been doing, where we pull the material back up onto the road, wet it down, roll it, pack it. We have one roller right now, which was probably built in the early 1900s. We just rebuilt it, so I mean, there's not much that you can break on those things, you know, it's old iron, but it works, it's really good. With the number of projects that we got, we load the thing up, move it around from shop to shop. We've looked at 3 rollers in the past. Throughout the county, 2 of them over by Waterloo, 1 of them up in northwest Iowa. Most of those vary in range of price from anywhere from $6,000 to $9,000, and everything that we've seen is junk. There is one sitting in Rutland that's for sale. It's
Susie, you own it?
Is it one of those 100-year-old goodies?
It is a 100-year-old goodie. It's a single drum. So it's heavier than the one that we have, cause we've got two drums that operate individually. This is one large single drum. It does belong to Cole Anderson, which is why I'm bringing it to you. He asked for 10, I offered 8. He said, what do you say we settle on 9? I wanted to bring it to you just because of who the person is that I'd be dealing with, so. Well, we could certainly use it, and it is in pretty decent shape.
I was gonna say, do you have anything planned in the near 30-day period where you could try it, see how it works, see if it's something?
We borrowed it last year, when ours broke, when we were doing the road west of Rutland. It ran fine for the 2 days that we used it then. The end of last year, when ours broke again, we ended up getting a drivable roller from Mid-Country, and I believe we paid 3,500 or 4,000 to rent it for the week.
I was gonna say, that was probably.
Yeah, so
What does a new one cost?
brand new, probably 25 to 30,000.
Okay.
And then you're questioning the quality of the steel that it's made out of. They don't build them like they used to.
Yes, the older ones are better.
This is a,
I just heard Rick.
Yep.
Yeah, I finally got it unmuted.
Our volume's not up.
That'd be TV, wouldn't it? Oh,
You say that again, Rick?
Oh, yeah, I say the older one is probably built a lot heavier than a newer one.
Yes, I agree. I think the older ones are built better than the newer ones.
I always thought the volume came through the TV.
I think I heard him through this.
Yeah. it did-
Yeah,
it
that's
did
what I
come
thought.
through-
It was
did
coming
come
through there.
that. I always thought it was through TV.
I was just looking on my phone, I usually, for some unknown reason, been getting, on a website that for equipment sales, heavy equipment, and don't know why, but today they don't have anything.
So, yeah, I've looked through like Facebook Marketplace, Big Iron,
That's the one that I've been getting, big iron.
trying to think,
I don't get any of that, I'm sorry, you basically.
no,
Well, it's
Purple Wave.
entertaining.
Purple Wave's another one. I don't know, you don't have to decide on that one today, but just think on it.
Well, I don't have a problem with you getting one, and if we're gonna use it, and if ours is 100 years old or whatever the age of it is, I'd say we got most of the good out of it.
Yeah,
and it still
Yeah.
works.
And it still works, I'm just looking for an extra one.
Something that we.
Well, you do more road reclamation, whatever you wanna call it,
Mhm.
so you have a need for it. And, you know, we're not a huge county, but it's a lot easier to have it split in half than it is to drag, get a roller or any other piece of equipment all around the county.
Usually the thing that holds us back from the number of miles that we can do is getting water to it
Mm,
and then getting it properly rolled. So, we'll look at building another rack for a water tank. Probably would be next winter's job. But
No, I'm fine if you want to purchase it. It's some piece of equipment you need.
yep,
okay,
I agree,
I do
I'm,
too.
if we need to have something and we've had success doing that, I think we can't afford to rent one for $3,500 to a week or two
Right.
and could have bought something for
Right,
8 or 9 grand,
Yeah.
10 grand, whatever.
yeah.
So I guess you just keep looking around and
I'll go back and start dickering with them again.
See what you can get, put it on the agenda next week to, well, go. If you can work something out.
I can work something out.
Officially approve it.
I would also tell you that our parking lot looks a lot nicer this morning it looked like the place was burning when I pulled in.
I know, I couldn't park where I normally do, I'm like, oh.
They did a nice job
Yep.
sweeping the sand and dirt and part
He
of
said,
winter off, but
he goes, I could probably use sweeping it again. I said, well, it's supposed to rain, I think Wednesday, Thursday, Friday this week,
Oh,
so
is it?
that'll help wash the
well, I'm
pavement.
sure the janitor section would be very appreciative of the stuff that's away from the door that's not getting tracked
Getting
in.
tracked.
Yeah,
It looks nice, and we appreciate it very much.
It was late Friday, we
got it.
talked about it, and he's like, yeah, it's all set, so.
Is this the year that we paint the parking lot? Some of them-
Every year is,
I didn't know if we did it every
the
year.
paint doesn't last, we're
I know, it doesn't. That's-
I don't know if there's something,
Better,
Most of it's waterborne now, it doesn't last as long. I mean, best thing you could do is get Pablo to get him a can of latex paint and a roller.
really? We have that little,
You have the cart.
the
that you
marking
stick
thing where it
the
sprays it,
Spray can in and,
yeah, so actually a real roller.
just like rolling your walls.
Okay.
Just get yourself a 4-inch wide roller and a
Make sure you walk straight.
paint pan and.
I can't do it then.
And not on a windy day.
Yeah. Oh,
Nothing on online auctions, there's no.
Trip on your butt.
quotes on there.
No, we're gonna do the same thing with ours. So,
yeah, I didn't know if there's
Make sure
something.
you have Dave do that. I think he needs to paint the lines.
yeah,
I'll visit with
he's still
a guy in town, might have a sprayer
bringing back from
too.
vacation.
Well,
So,
it's not, we told him, it gets nice.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
clean that
Borrow.
off and give him that roller.
yeah,
He's the guy.
yep.
I know Paul did
Done
it
it
last
better.
year and they just faded out really quickly.
And I think that's the quality of the spray cans that we use now. That's what that
It
is.
looked good for a while.
Yep.
Perfect.
Well. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.
Anything else for Ben?
Thank you.
No. I did go over and look at where that bridge is going. There ain't no way that's gonna flood them fields.
No,
You're starting up here on the road, that's a long way down there. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know if the rest of the board is aware of that one. David got a phone call last Friday, I think it was.
Yeah, Friday,
From
Thursday, 'cause he wanted me to come over there Friday. And
a landowner over by
Couldn't meet
Birdie
up with him.
Bridge, where the new one's supposed to go.
Projected.
And he was complaining that it was gonna flood out a bunch of fields.
I don't see how that's possible. If you look where it's gonna go across there on the north side, going across that long way down there to that valley in the river. Bridge is gonna be up here starting. There ain't no way it's gonna.
I know,
fields out.
Been there, seen it.
It's like a 460-foot long bridge
Yeah.
where our current one is only 210.
I went across the old one and then come back across it.
Yeah.
It creaks a little bit.
Hold your breath.
Very historical.
I think we needed it, we left that. And then get it closed off, so it's only a walking.
Trying to talk conservation into allowing me to move it up to the trail.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Real cool.
Next to their new walking bridge?
There, now you're onto something.
We could do one of the spans.
Yeah, why not?
oh, there you go. Hey.
Save them money. No.
Oh, that's not a.
Before that gets printed.
What we-
Yeah.
What we had looked at doing was just, moving it from where it's currently at up the hill to where the trail is at, because the road on the east side, I mean, it's one major flood event away from washing a lot of that road out.
Hmm.
Well, it will rain one of these days, just don't know
Yeah,
what,
rain,
right?
rain.
Combination of something's gonna
Yeah.
happen, but I'm guessing we'll be back to a stack of repairs
Yeah.
soon, hopefully soon.
Mm-hmm. They're terrible. They're getting worse.
Okay, moving on. Approve the 24-25 quote from B&W Control Specialist for weed control. Well, there's two different things there. And I have a question for the auditor. When we talk about, brush control and drainage ditches, county pays that, not the drainage districts, or how is that?
It gets divided in the drainage district.
Does it go to them? So, having said that, just don't, I thought so, now that you mentioned it, we need to go into drainage to approve this quote, because it is a drainage matter.
I don't think we have before,
Okay, I'm just throwing that out there, because
but
there's,
you could, I mean,
this
it's
is,
totally up to.
well, there's two separate things, and this is assessed at the drainage districts listed. They're approximately a third of the geographical area each year, so it's a 3-year rotation on brush control and drainage ditches. So I'm just throwing that out there. No, I don't think we have prior to that, but
Well, we can accept it and next week put it on the agenda.
Well,
Drainage if we have to.
I don't think we have to.
And it's just an estimate, I mean,
Typically,
it's not a proven fill yet.
well, they will do it starting between, quite potentially this spring, whether the way the weather's been. For brush control, it works pretty good with these conditions. And it'll certainly be finished this calendar year. If it isn't done in the spring, it'll be finished in the fall, and that's, what they're showing the third of the county that's worked on. But I just wanted to throw that out there, otherwise I would,
Looks like the northeast.
yeah,
Laverne and
I think, yes.
that area.
Yep, it's kind of a, like I say, it's a approximate third of the districts each year, so 3-year rotation, unless
Has
needed.
Doug been out to look at it then?
Oh, yeah, he's looked at all this. So I guess with that, I'd make a motion that we do approve that quote, for the drainage ditch brush control for 2024 with B&W Control Specialist.
I'll second.
That's for both of them, or just? No, that's just that one, just Russian weed for districts. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Okay, now you wanna do the one along? Yeah, the other one is the county right of ways. Oh, I should have mentioned, the one we just approved is just brush control in drainage ditches. That is not weed control, it's brush control, so just a clarification. The other one that's on there is right of way weed control. They're gonna work with Nate Reefer on this. This is a calendar year, which they're again challenging because we operate in a fiscal year budget, of course, but in talking with him and the quote of 42,850, and the way we've worked our program this past several years, that would be the most, but that's this calendar year, starting spring through summer through fall. And this is weed control and right of ways, so I would make the motion. We also approve that quote for right of way weed control from B&W Control Specialist.
How much was that? You said it was the most it would be?
42,850, but when he even presented this, and he said, he was already saying there's a lot of the things, he says, I really don't think it'll be that much, but
this is kind of their,
They're max, what they.
right, it's better to put it, he said, you know, obviously from previous experience, if you quote it at the bare minimum and it goes a few dollars over, then he said the counties yell at me.
I just wanted to make sure I heard it right.
Yeah, 42,850 for this calendar year quote.
Okay, I'll
So,
second that.
motion to approve that.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And can you, here's the copies of it, can you, stamp and approve both copies and so I can get one to Nate for his records?
Mhm.
So I will be seeing him this week.
You want Dave to sign them?
Yeah, I think he's got his proof thing, and then he likes to have a copy of that on file from.
You have a stamp?
Dave's got a stamp for what?
Approved.
Got an
It should-
approved
it should
stamp.
be approved and
Is it this one?
Dave's got a stamp. I don't have an approved stamp. No, isn't there one in there? Used to be. Take that away from him?
I
They
did.
took it away, they don't approve it.
You don't want to approve
Johnny
anything
is, so it-
apparently.
Kind of hogs up the desk. March.
March 11 already,
I know, can you believe that?
No.
you know. Getting
70
towards that
some degrees
tax day.
today.
No. It's official now.
It sounds like a gun going.
I know it.
Just keep it going.
There wasn't.
Yeah, make a copy of that one too, and I can give that one, that's the brush control one.
Okay. Anything else on weed control?
Let that cover it.
Moving on down, committee report. Eric,
Well, finally, we got a date on the assessors conference board, met Wednesday at 6 PM here. So we met and was a assessors conference board and got through that meeting on Wednesday, the sixth at 6. And that was my official one last week.
Rick, can we hear you?
Yeah, hopefully you can hear me. I just had the conference board on the 6th also.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah, conference board on the 6th.
Anything else?
Nope,
Okay, I had the conference board as well on the 6th. That was my only.
I had no official meetings last week.
And I had the conference board on the 6th.
I'd like to say it was well attended. We had all
Standing room
the
only.
requirements
That's
for
good.
everyone. The mayors were all in place and we had school board people and
Awesome.
so it was
We had
very well
one
attended.
or two mayors that wasn't here, otherwise we was well attended.
Good.
And next week we need to approve officially the raises percentage. So we can get everybody on board and get the budget finalized.
Okay.
If everybody agrees,
Yep.
Yep, I agree.
we need to get that done.
Yep.
That'll put the closer to the final pieces. Hopefully.
Anything else come before the board?
So Trish, when did you approximately think that public hearing, truth and taxation would occur? You had the
April 1st.
April 1st, okay.
And it has to be a completely separate meeting. Completely.
That's all.
So if we want to have our regular meeting and then have it directly following with a completely different agenda and everything, we can do that.
Keep the original meeting short and sweet and then have that short and sweet and be done.
And then-
Trish,
In the
Would it
regular
har-
meeting.
Rick's trying, what's that?
would it be hard to, publish the starting time for that when we don't know when we adjourn?
He said about the starting time, because we wouldn't know what time this
He
meeting.
wondered if it would be smart to use the early
Maybe-
meeting.
Or the.
Yes,
that
start
makes
with-
sense to do that at 8:30.
start with that and then follow up with our board meeting.
That's a
With the
good
board
idea,
meeting
Rick,
afterward.
good point.
You
It should
expect
go
that to
through,
take
it
very
should go
long.
through the TV.
No, it shouldn't take very long. It's,
Then I'll-
unless there's people here, we have to send
Publish it.
out notices to everybody,
Well,
I
publication.
guess that makes sense to me.
that makes sense to me, to do it at 8:30, and then have our regular meeting afterwards when we can just do that at 8:45 or 8:50, whatever time
Okay,
our meeting would be
that
done.
sounds good.
Good call, Rick.
You still there, Rick?
Yes, I am.
Got
I
it.
found you.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Oh, good.
You were worse than the phone box or shoebox or something.
You know, I haven't touched a thing either.
I
I
think it's
don't know
up
what's,
Yeah,
Ben's turning it up.
so we need to make sure that we have it on echo canceling.
It was on the computer is what it was.
Okay.
Trying to run the shit out of the speaker.
perfect.
Okay.
Use Mixer.
Do you wanna do another report, Rick, so we can
no,
listen
I'm,
to it?
I'm good.
All right, nothing else come before the board?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye,
I,
30.
9:30.
that's right.
Yeah.
So-
Globe at
Oh, here's that
10:45, my brand new glasses I got.
That-
I've had them adjusted 4 times.
And they still aren't?
No, so
I just-
they just said we
Who's
gotta
saying this?
listen to a
Please.
different pair of glasses.
No.
There must be something with those glasses, the way they fit on your face.
Well,
You want to make
Oh
copies
my
of his
God,
records.
they had it just. All
right, Rick.
How many more?
Yeah.
Is he gone?
I don't know whether my sleep mask is digging into my nose or if it's my